You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Johnny.
What a day. Welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel here, folks. I'm stepping in. I'm stepping up. It's time to get it on. And I have a question. Which one do you want? Do you want global thermonuclear war? Or do you want regional thermonuclear war? They're pushing the war, folks. They're pushing it, right? And I couldn't believe it. Hey, it is going to be the monologue followed by your questions. It's going to be a 1-2 punch in the world of SHTF. So get your questions in to Jolene. Put them in the comment section, right? Send them via email. Whatever she has set up, there's a bunch of ways to get the questions out. I like the comment section because a lot of times we'll get news that shows up at the last minute, and that could be something you want to discuss. Vincent Boyle says, lucky number 2. Yeah, regional global thermonuclear war. Regional, yeah, no global on that one. I tell you, they're pushing it, folks. Right, they're pushing it. Now, it kind of reminded me of the song Leonard Skinner. And I don't know if you're familiar with Leonard Skinner over there in Belfast, Ireland, man. But, right, there's that song, right? Give me 2 steps. Give me 2 steps, mister. Give me 2 steps towards the war. Well, they took some big steps for that today, right? Another mystery explosion, another mystery ammo depot blows up in Russia near Ukraine. Once again, folks, they're pushing it. You know, they can't win the war in Donetsk or Luhansk, which are the breakaway republics. Remember when the U.S. wants to support a country? It's a breakaway republic. They want liberty and freedom. They want a divorce from that abusive country. But when another country wants it and the U.S. doesn't, well, that sounds like an insurrection, right? Unbelievable, folks. So yeah, more explosions. We're going to talk about that a little bit, right? And in addition to that, well, Russia decided to say, look what we have, right? In addition to their hypersonic missile technology that the United States can't match or defeat, right? In addition to the big old threat of nuclear war, Russia says, hey, look, we've got a robo-dog. Just like U.S. defense contractors have. They got a robo-dog. Well, the U.S. version had a machine gun on the robo-dog. Remember when I said there's going to be robots patrolling the street? And if your face, your visage, matches one that they have on file, you just might be eating lead, right? You could be mistaken. Or they could say, no, we got the right guy. We killed that John guy because we don't like him. And see, these robots will be autonomous. Who is responsible when they make mistakes? Who's responsible when, well, they wanted to kill that guy and they killed that guy? Who's responsible for that? The robot? Are robots responsible? For me, it's kind of a question, kind of a problem, like with police dogs. Who's responsible for the things they do? Serious questions. Who's responsible for these robo-dogs and other robots that are coming to the battlefield, that are coming to police you and me, right? Long gone, I guess, are the days when humans actually, well, met each other on the field of battle. Well, we're not there yet, but trust me, they're going to do all they can to make this a war where you and I are inconsequential. But folks, yeah, robo-dog in Russia doesn't show up with a machine gun. Robo-dog Russia looks at Robo-dog America and says, only an idiot brings a machine gun to a rocket-propelled grenade fight. That's right, folks. The Russian dog has an RPG, a rocket-propelled grenade attached to it. You know, hello, World War III, how you doing? Right? They're saying we're ready to fight you. Right? Russia's saying don't do it, don't mess with us. And Ukraine is like, don't worry, we will. Unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable where they're taking this. Are you prepared? right? Do you have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense? Do you have a plan? Do you know what's going on in that 10-mile radius that you live smack dab in the middle of? Are you prepared for what the bad guys are willing to do in DC and in Russia and in China and in North Korea and in Iran and in Syria, in Israel, and the bad guys all over the planet? Whether you think the countries are good or bad, they've got bad guys. Well, yes, folks. Which one? Global thermonuclear war or, well, regional thermonuclear war? Well, Russia claims, folks, that Ukraine is getting ready. They're going to pull off a false flag provocation. And they're saying they're going to do it at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant in, well, a formerly Ukrainian, right, now held by, I believe, in Donetsk, Europe's largest nuclear power facility. And Russia's saying, hey, Ukraine is going to do a false flag provocation. Now get this. Ukraine is saying Russia's going to do something. Russia's going to do something to a nuclear power plant that they have 500 of their own soldiers and their own nuclear technicians at. It sounds kind of ridiculous, right? Why would they try blowing it up and causing a nuclear accident? What? So the the fallout can land all over the newly freed republics and blow into Moscow? That's a great idea. I could really see Russia doing that. Makes a lot of sense, right? No, it doesn't. So what's going on here, right? They're both accusing each other, both sides, Ukraine and Russia, except Ukraine doesn't do anything, folks. Ukraine is proxy. It's the stooge puppet of NATO and Washington, D.C. Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency, a United Nations, unit. The Director General, Rafael Grossi, said this week he stands ready to lead a delegation in person to inspect the plant. However, it's being reported that Russia has rejected this possibility, saying such a mission would be too dangerous because Ukraine is shelling the nuclear power plant. In other words, they're bombing it. They're launching whatever they've got at the nuclear power plants. Now, interesting. At the same time, on Thursday, today, Russia's defense ministry has issued its most ominous and alarming claim, and this comes from Zero Hedge, folks, yet regarding the situation there at Zaporizhzhia, alleging Ukraine has currently engaged in plotting a false flag, and any resulting catastrophe will be blamed immediately on Moscow if it happens. Except, Russia, Moscow is saying it's going to be caused by Ukraine, right? Taking it further, military spokesman said that it's going to be Friday, August 19th. Well, that's tomorrow if you're on the thepreparedmind.club and subscribestar.com. They're saying, yeah, they're going to do something on Friday, tomorrow. If you're on YouTube, you're going to get this video and it supposedly is going to happen. And they say, Russia says Russia will be blamed for the man-made catastrophe. This is coming from the Ministry of Defense in Russia. Now, that's what Russia says. Ukraine is going to try a stunt. And Ukraine and NATO and the U.S. and all their allies have said, no, in reality, it's Russian troops that are using the plant as a nuclear shield. And so they bear responsibility for any potentially disastrous consequences. So basically, both sides are saying that the other one is using nuclear blackmail, right? Now, the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, Maria Zakharova, is saying that Ukraine is provoking them. Now, as far as I'm concerned, this is an obvious move by Ukraine to scare the world. I call it atomic terrorism. See, when you threaten to kill people under political motives, that is what terrorism is. That's what's terror. I mean, it's also a part of war, isn't it? Is it war or is it terror? What are they doing? Right? Ukraine is saying, well, since you have military forces inside this nuclear power plant, we can shoot at them, and if something bad happens, it's your fault. Wouldn't you think that that fighting and shooting and bombing an enemy near a nuclear power plant, that's kind of one of those off limits areas, kind of like a church. You shouldn't be blowing churches up, right? That should be neutral ground. Right? As far as I'm concerned, there's zero acceptable reason for Ukraine to lob bombs or fire missiles at a nuclear energy facility, whether or not it has military troops there. I mean, would Kiev like its citizens nuked with a Russian bomb and then accept, well, civilian deaths were okay since Kiev had political leaders and military there. You can't use them. No, I mean, really. Right? Same for London. How about Washington, D.C.? Would it be acceptable for Russia to bomb D.C. and claim they are responsible for the weapons use because weapons were used against Crimea, blowing up these ammo depots and fuel depots? Right? It's a can of worms. War is hell. And the WEF, the World Economic Forum, and the Bilderbergers folks are all responsible for this. They are the ones who are responsible. NATO and the U.S. and England and the European Union, they're responsible for this, for putting Ukraine in this position and then telling them to fight and then sending a bunch of money over there and what have you. It is a complete idiotic spectacle. And we're not done. But wait, there's more. Oh, yeah, by the way, have you got your questions in? Get your questions in, because when I'm done with my monologue, I want to hear what you guys have to say. There's an awful lot going on. I got one more thing on this Russia-Ukraine, World War III, right? Where are they taking us with it? Well, Russia deploys their MiG fighters armed with their hypersonic missiles. Guess where they sent them? To Kaliningrad. You bet. Kaliningrad is like Hawaii for Russia. It's on the other side of, what is it, Lithuania? It's not touching the Russian mainland directly, but it still belongs to Russia. Kind of like Hawaii's out in the middle of the ocean, but it's an American state. Right? Russia deploys its MiG fighters there, which means that puts them a lot closer to European Union targets. And did I or did I not hear that these hypersonic missiles can be tipped with nuclear weapons? I don't know, folks. I'm not too sure. I'm not an expert. Maybe we should consult, someone really smart. I'm sure Dr. Fauci could tell us, right? Unbelievable, folks, what is happening out there. Now, let's bring it back to America. Let's make it real small. Let's get away from that nuclear war thing where, we're gonna try and screw things up, threatening nuclear weapons, threatening to blow up nuclear power plants, trying to scare everyone into submission to their political will. Yeah, those terrorists. Right. Well, let's get small. Governor DeSantis down in Florida has announced that 20 people have been arrested for voter fraud. You see, the big decisions in Washington, D.C. are being made because small areas send their representatives to Washington, D.C. to represent us. And then we end up with, of course, a politician, a presidential caliber person. And they make these big decisions about war, right? And the media supports it. And the media is owned by the World Economic Forum and their ilk. So, it's interesting to watch these smaller, right, people like Governor DeSantis. They're interested in arresting people for violations of law. He, if you remember, very recently threw a state prosecutor, threw him out and said, "You're suspended because you refused to enforce the law, to do your job." You see, that's, I think, how close you and I are. That's how close you and I are to getting control back. Now, I understand Trump went to D.C. and he didn't realize that it was that bad, that it was the money, that it was the corporations, that it was the bureaucracy, as well as the elected officials who were all on the take taking money, taking bribes, being extorted, and all that. Right? I mean, it was just the Prime Minister of Finland popped up today in a video partying with a bunch of people while I guess the rest of the country is supposed to be locked down. Maybe she made a mistake and they said, well, then we're going to release this video footage of you being a hypocritical little hoe. And yeah, off you go. Right? And I think it was Boris Johnson who also probably pissed off the wrong person, and his partying came out. Kind of like all the other politicians who decided they were going to have parties and go to dinners, like Governor Newsom in California. Nancy wants to get her hair done while everyone else is locked down, being told they're going to die if they dare step out of their homes. What a bunch of shit. Yeah, well, Governor DeSantis is doing something. And I think that if we get enough people in D.C. to start fighting, it's going to get a lot more interesting. Not sure we're going to win, but it's certainly get a lot more interesting. Either way, it's going to be SHTF. We're going to have it globally, folks, whether it's nuclear or just, SHTF over food, fuel, electricity. Yeah, the stuff that we're concerned with as little people. It's going to be, or is it just going to be, is it just going to be local? Well, a lot of this, I think, stems from an understanding of reality and the possession of morality. Now, I'm not allowed to say jack shit. I can't say schnit about schneinola, right? But famous people can say whatever the hell they want, right? And it's disgusting. Remember when that filthy liberal pig said she did not care if Biden boiled and ate babies? Remember that? I don't care if Biden boils and eats babies. I'm voting for him. Well, another leftist idiot came out, a very prominent podcaster named Sam Harris. He admits, folks, he says, fine, the conspiracy to prevent President Trump was warranted, and he would not have cared if Hunter hid corpses of children under his house, right? That's how sick these bastards are, folks. And all of these sick bastards are socialists. And it's funny, whenever they give us an example of what they're willing to tolerate, it usually has to do with killing children. Right? They admit the conspiracy to prevent Trump was warranted. In other words, they're admitting, folks, they're saying it. Right? They're saying, I'm not saying it. They're saying it. The conspiracy was warranted. Everything that is done to Trump is warranted. He doesn't care. He wouldn't care. Biden needs to be elected whether or not his son hid corpses of children, whether or not Joe boiled and ate babies. These people are sick, sick bastards. It's a lack of decency. It's a lack of morality. It's a lack of humanity. And we're supposed to go, yeah, we'll share power with you. When this all comes down, folks, there's going to be hell to pay, in my opinion. I am not going to share a table in a political environment with someone I know that is a communist or a communist sympathizer who has the same mentality. I don't care if we kill babies, and they don't. I don't care if we kill babies. We're going to do things my way, and I think I should have a voice. No, you would kill babies. You don't get a voice anymore. In fact, exile, I think, is the best I could do for Democrats, socialists, and communists, folks. But we're not there yet. And I am not suggesting anything violent, illegal, harmful, or dangerous. I'm just saying this is where the people of America are going to end up going with this. Because the ungodly abomination that is the Democrat, Socialist, Globalist Party, it's revealing itself. And it makes me sick to my stomach, folks. It does. It makes me sick to my stomach. And get this. Now, I lost this little tidbit of a story. And it's not a little tidbit. It's actually a huge pile of SHTF. And it matters. I think it's important to bring up that the same cast of characters, the same FBI agents, folks, who ran the Russiagate coup, with Strzok, Comey, Ruby Rod, Rosenstein, Hillary, and all. These are the same scumbags in the FBI that were leading and supervising the raid on President Trump, his property. The same ones, folks. The same people are doing it again and again and again. Don't tell me there's not a conspiracy. Don't tell me there's not a coup. Don't tell me, right? But the Democrats will tell you it's warranted. It's necessary. It's fine. It's just fine, folks. Now, I have talked about with you, and I spent some time this morning talking about Cerveza Bug and Jim Jones juice, right? They're fine. You want to boil babies need them, you're good, right? You're fine there. It's unbelievable, folks, that they'll go after Trump and make everything they can public. But there hasn't been one arrest of all the people that Jizzy Maxwell acquired children for. Isn't that interesting? Anyways, they'll allow that. These people will allow anything, folks. You think that if they're not opposed to hiding corpses under Hunter Biden's house, well, then yeah, it's believable when I say, yeah, they want to kill us off, folks. They have no problem. We're expendable. Years ago, we started talking about Hillary Clinton calling us deplorable, Barack Obama saying we cling to our guns and Bibles, intimating that we're a bunch of worthless hicks. And then people like, whoa, cute little Katie Couric saying, well, we should go to re-education camps. Other people just saying outright they want to put us in concentration camps and just kill us. Anyone who is moral, decent, believes in the Constitution. This has been going on for fucking years and years now. Their attitudes, folks, I'm talking about exiling them, sending them to a communist country if they want to be communist. They don't even give us an option. They don't say, well, we got a country for you guys. No, they just want to kill us. So if you think for a second that they have any compunction about giving you poison, maybe some mRNA reprogramming sauce, believe it, folks. And I'll give you another high-profile death. There's a Florida college football player, right? His brother, folks, plays for the Buffalo Bills, right? High-profile college player, age 22, dies suddenly. You think they have any problem, folks, killing us off? They'll kill you and me. They'll kill anyone. They'll kill the babies. They'll do anything to get their people in positions of power. They'll fight any war. They'll risk a nuclear accident or nuclear exchange. Meanwhile, there are people fighting back. A judge has ruled, unseal the FBI Mar-a-Lago raid affidavit. Wow, that's pretty interesting, right? The judge said there is a clear and powerful public interest. And who made that demand? Folks, this is interesting. Mainstream media, TV and print, and I think the Associated Press. You want fireworks? You got it. The people need to know this could unseal everything. This could cause a shit pile of, a shit pile. And once the shit comes out of the horse, it don't get back in it, right? We're going to get some fireworks, folks, just in time for the 2022 elections. I mean, how many different ways from here to Sunday, right, can this thing go? Are you prepared? Have you gone to the thepreparedmind.club and made sure and look at everything we have and say, do you have that? Do you have a radio? Right? Do you have some solar panels? Do you have food? Do you have water? Do you have self-defense? Right? Do you have flashlights? Do you have knives? Right? Do you have what it takes to get through a couple of weeks of, the power being off, right? And there being nothing but trouble going on. I don't have to scare you with, you're going to spend the next 6 years, eating worms. No. Oh, in fact, I've got some news on that as well. Unfreaking believable. I found this article. It's at journals.plos.org, and it has to do with bugs, insects for food. And they have some questions. This huge push, folks, by the World Economic Forum and Bill Gates. By the way, Bill Gates, whose store has been burned for the third time in Denmark. His I guess crickets and locust store, he wants people to eat bugs, folks. There's a big question now that's being asked, that insects transmit parasites to humans through our digestive systems. In other words, right, there's a reason that there used to be a problem with pork and eating it. It was called trichinosis. It was a disease, and it was in pigs, and so you did not eat pigs because you could get sick from it, right? Eating insects can transmit parasites into our digestive systems, right? It's a parasite, malaria, that comes from a mosquito bite, right? Insects are not food. And some people are going, well, John the Baptist ate locusts. Well, he was probably starving and in the desert, and that's all he could get. He also ate honey, okay. I mean, you can't live on honey. You live on what you can get, I guess, if you're wandering the desert with no food. Well, we don't have that problem here in the year 2022. There are millions of acres, if not billions worldwide, where food can be planted. And it's actually good for the environment to plant food because things grow, cows eat it, we eat cows. It's the Kuma Matata, the circle of life, right? But would it surprise you if major diseases broke out and started killing people? Do you think Bill Gates would give a shit if you ate a bucket of crickets and whoops, you were overwhelmed with parasites? No, folks, not if they're just fine with you suffering from mRNA poisoning. Not if they're just fine with you suffering at the hands of their political stooges. Oh, it's hit the fan. Big time, folks. Right? Unbelievable. I mean, people are waking up. Nearly 2 million kids have left the public school system in the last 2 years. People are waking up and taking their kids out of schools, right? Because what are schools producing, folks? Well, they're producing a bunch of brainwashed, indoctrinated turds, right? In fact, this whole thing about hiring 87,000 IRS agents. Well, guess what? A video showing an IRS recruitment program at high school and at colleges has been exposed. It's called the Adrian Project. And essentially it shows a bunch of, well, as far as I'm concerned, a bunch of freaking rejects wearing IRS vests and coats and acting, like they've really got some power, like they're a SWAT team. Now, remember, if you will, the 1920s and 1930s Nazi Germany. Nazis used their Hitler Youth, folks, to commit all manner of terror and murder and chaos. Kind of like the summer of 2022. Those brainwashed, disenchanted youths of Germany were very capable of violence and corruption. They were useful idiots. Well, today, what do we have? Youths are being seriously corrupted by the school system. And now coming fresh out of school and university as indoctrinated America haters, these indoctrinated socialist communists are being offered badges, guns, and jobs, harassing, well, what the lefty Democrats call political dissidents, right? We're political dissidents of the Fourth Reich Biden administration, folks. Welcome to 1984 plus, right? George Orwell is, he's got to be breakdancing in his grave, not just spinning a little bit. It used to be, you roll over, you spin in your grave. It's worse than that, folks. 1984 plus. From mechanical robots and dogs armed with explosives and machine guns to all manner of stupidity. These people are after us, folks. Completely off the charts. And what can you do about it, right? What can you do? It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. Well, they're going to continue to scare us. Let me give you one more thing. I can't resist this. In their effort to scare and control us, folks, I don't do fear porn. I just talk to you about what's happening. Offer you a little satire, a little insight, a little perspective, different than I think anyone else can give you. But they're trying to scare us in every way possible. I've described major global events and the threat of global war. I've taken it down to the micro scale, your schools, the teachers, and voting and all that. Now I'm going to go solar system wide route. Right? We've heard of coronal mass ejection, right? It's when the sun belches and throws radiation at the planet and it interrupts the electrical system. Now they've renamed it, right? And said there's an earthbound cannibal coronal mass ejection. And it's imminent. Once again, they're using fear, folks, and they're adding the word cannibal, right? By doing that, it's completely asinine, right? We're aware of CMEs. And we have been fear porned again and again and again for over a decade, right? It's to generate the necessary fear. And then, well, it's not working, so they need to add a big scary word, kind of like when cerveza bug wasn't enough. They had to come up with the Omicron variant, right? But I have some questions, right? Did the sun fill out the necessary paperwork with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, and fill out the proper NEPA paperwork, right? Did the sun consult the Wall Street firms to ensure that the sun is meeting ESG requirements and properly blame humans for the causes and consequences of their cannibal coronal mass ejection, right? And finally, you know, is the sun coordinating properly with the World Economic Forum so they can exploit the situation to fit their agenda 50-50, right? Because apparently everything, you know, there's rules for everything, but yeah, exploitation and fear. That's what they're pushing. What do I want? I want you to be ready so that whenever they do what they're doing, whether it is, folks, a dirty bomb that they're going to blame on right-wing extremists or Russians, or whether it is lights out because there's some sort of, well, coronal mass ejection or some other phenomena, you know, basically someone pulling the light switch, the plug out. They're going to play more games with us. Only these aren't games in the sense of they're fun. It's life and death.
Are you ready?
All righty. Here we are, the second half of the hour. It's time for your questions. We've got a few lined up. Jolene's going to pop them up on the screen for us. We're going to go over what you want to discuss. And if you sign up at thepreparedmind.club or subscribestar.com at the Prepared Mind there, you can join us Monday through Friday for our live Q&A. Because every day there's so much to talk about. I don't know where to start or stop. So that's why I want to involve you guys and have a sit down, some chit chat, right? And see what you're thinking about as well. Because the show, the Prepared Mind channel, is a network. It's a network of all of us people. So I want you guys to be able to share this address up here because the topics, they're far ranging. And it all has to do with whether or not we are prepared. So let's do this. Jolene, what do we got on the board first? And we have Latin America preparedness. He says, several politicians apologized and admitted about being lied to about cerveza bug and Jim Jones juice. Costa Rica has now removed the Jim Jones mandate. DeSantis and Bolsonaro were among the politicians to apologize. Should Trump follow? My answer to that question is yes. Trump should address the question of COVID, the lockdowns, the requirements that were coming, the heavy-handed government, the destruction of small business, the shutdown of schools, and then he should apologize, right? For being, he can say, hey, I was lied to by these doctors. I was lied to by Dr. Doom and Dr. Birx. I was lied to. He can tell us that. He can name names, and he should. Right? He should name every big pharmaceutical person that lied, because yeah, they were telling us you have to have these things. Under the Biden administration, they tried mandating it, didn't they? Now they're saying, oh, no, we never said that these things would work. Well, wait a minute. Why are we taking them then if you can't guarantee they'll protect us? If you can't guarantee that it'll stop transmission? If you can't guarantee, right? They can't guarantee anything. All they could do is guarantee, well, if you take it, we're going to jab you with it. Yeah, so now they're kind of apologizing. Right? But it's easy, folks. Bolsonaro is the president of Mexico. DeSantis is the governor of Florida. Everyone who was tricked or lied to should say something. I'll tell you, they when this first came out, first couple of weeks, I was scared. I thought, what the hell is this? They finally released some killer bacteria, some killer virus from some lab. Freaking idiots, right? Bothered the hell out of me. I didn't know whether to believe them or believe, who. But it after a couple of weeks, I'm like, well, no one in my city has it. No one. Who has it? Right? And then we started catching people faking deaths. And they started putting ridiculous stories out like, we have a room full of body bags, full of bodies, and there's no beds available. Remember that whole no beds available? The mainstream media, folks, the people should be able to go to mainstream media and, well, if they don't apologize and come out and say they're sorry for lying to us and admitting their culpability and admitting their participation in these fake stories, I think we, the people, should be able to get rid of them. Take away their licenses, right? A license is permission to do that the government can grant and the government can take away. They lied, right? A body bag with a dead body in it would fill up with gases in a room that was, 68, 70 degrees, right? It would stink. Can't tell me there's body bags piled up in the hallways, right? They'd be bloated like a balloon right after a day. It's phenomenally absurd, the lies they were telling us, right? People walking outside and streets were just empty. Why? So they could lie to us. A disease that kills less than 1/10 of 1%. And the people that did die already were suffering from harsh illnesses. It was incredible. They should apologize, every last one of them, for being lied to, and then for carrying that water, taking that lie and using their political power to cause irreparable harm to individuals, companies, people, and the whole country and the planet. Right? I mean, it's incredible. The CDC, folks, has changed the rules about mandates and what they believe. But guess what? In the military, the pilots there, they're still grounded if they don't have the Jim Jones juice. Right? They're still grounded. Military pilots are grounded for not doing something that is no longer considered a big deal. The CDC is backing away. They're changing things. I went over this earlier in the prior video from this morning. They're changing their story. The narrative. They got a lot of people to take the garbage, and they're continuing to lie about that and hide the truth there. There's going to need to be a lot, folks. Apologies won't be enough when this is all over. I guess it would be intelligent for politicians and bureaucrats to come out now and apologize and say, we were wrong. Sorry about that. Sorry. Yeah, well, how many people did we watch on the news get arrested, fined, sent to jail, harassed, attacked for saying, you know what, this is bullshit. You don't have the authority to do this to me. Right? Restaurants were building seating arrangements outside because seating inside wasn't allowed. They were covering sidewalks in hastily constructed shanties, right? And then you could go to a restaurant. You had to wear a mask if you walked around. But once you sat down, you could take the mask off. In other restaurants, right, they forced you to take your mask off, put some food in your mouth, and put your mask back on. And then we saw musicians with masks with a hole in it so they could jab the musical instrument through and play their horn, their saxophone, their clarinet, right? What good does this hole in the mask do? It's just ridiculous. All righty, I'm carrying on. And it seems like Jolene's like, forget it, John, shut up. Vincent Boyle wants to talk about this. He says, our instructors told us that if we were eating bugs, we're already done. This is a completely different perspective. If you're reduced to eating bugs, you are close to being dead, is what Vincent Boyle is saying. If you're eating bugs, we're already done. That means the food is not out there. The food is not out there, and so now you're reduced to eating bugs, but digging through the ground for worms. You're breaking open fallen trees looking for beetle grubs. You're digging in the ground for ants' nests and termite mounds. Right, are you fucking kidding me? If we're eating bugs, we're done. Now here's the deal, Vincent, is they're telling us that they want us to eat bugs and that meat is bad, right? Cows, chickens, ducks, pigs, goats, whatever we eat for meat, fish, right? Seafood, they want us to eat bugs. Now, what's the deal with bugs? Well, I'm going to ask you this question, right? How about larvae? How about maggots? That's right, fly larvae, maggots. Have you ever, and I understand this is going to get kind of nauseating. If you've ever seen a time-lapse film of a dead animal being eaten by fly larvae, maggots, they can dispose of a body very, very quickly. We're talking a couple of days, whether we're talking about a deer or a hog carcass. It can reduce a carcass to nothing in no time. Why do they want to introduce the idea of eating bugs to humans? Is there going to be a plethora of bugs available for us to eat? And they would rather have us eat the bugs than cows. They would rather have us eat the bugs than chicken eggs and chickens. They would rather have us eat the bugs than anything else. What are they going to feed these bugs, folks, to create the thousands of pounds, the millions of pounds, the billions of pounds of protein that are required for a human population? Could it be that they would take people who died from the Jim Jones juice and have those bodies reduced to nothing in a matter of days by feeding them? That's okay, Jolene. By feeding them bugs, right? Or putting flies and other bugs to eat human bodies, people that die from the Jim Jones juice, and then turning around and feeding those bugs to the remaining population that are left. And would they pass on that bad mRNA and make people who eat them sick? How are they going to get the world population, folks, down to 500 million? How are they going to reduce it over 90%? Think about it, right? Do the math. If you can convince people to eat bugs and say, well, there's no cows for you, we're done with that, right? They start now, and in 3 years, 4 years, people are doing it. People rejected absolutely impossible meat, saying, we're not going to eat that shit, soy meal and crap. But they want to feed us bugs, folks. Do the math. How do you get rid of bodies? How do you dispose of them? How do you create a food source? How do you dispose of that food source, right? You don't want a world covered in, 6 feet thick of maggots. It's really disgusting what they're proposing. Crickets, cockroaches, locusts. mealworms, maggots, I'll pass. I'll pass, folks. It's rather nasty what they're up to. I know it's a gross subject, but look at literally what they're offering us. Look at literally what they're saying. You will own nothing and you'll be happy about it. That's some confident statement coming from these people, folks. You don't like high prices? Well, just buy an expensive car. That'll fix everything. Folks, we can't. In order to satisfy the demand in the next 10 years for the creation of EVs, electrical vehicles for everyone, and the batteries, they have to mine in the next 10, 15 years as much copper has been mined by humanity from the very beginning. And that includes the last 100 years of, shall we say, industrial mining of copper on a scale that's incredible, right? Millions of tons of copper being dug up. And we have to dig up every bit as much as we've dug up so far, right? Just to satisfy the demand for the next 10, 15 years. It's outrageous what they're trying to do. It's incredibly outrageous. Well, it might be a little more feasible if they get rid of half the population, 75% of it, convince them that they don't get to own anything, that they have no rights, that they're disposable, turn the people on one another, maybe have a little bit of nuclear war, scare the hell out of people, right? Dispose of all of those bodies. Remember how they talked about disposing of all the bodies? It's so difficult. How are we going to dispose of all the bodies of the people dying from cerveza bug? Oh, there were plumes of toxic smoke, they claimed, right? It wasn't that deadly. So, right, it's all fear, folks. But boy, how satisfying would it be for these sadistic bastards like Bill Gates, who, by the way, was one of Jeffrey Epstein's little buddies. Yeah, Bill Gates, he kind of looks like someone who is a map, a minor attracted person. They're calling themselves maps instead of pedophiles. Doesn't Bill Gates just look like one of those guys? Doesn't he kind of look like a Joe Biden who loves to sniff little kids? All right, I've gone down that, folks. I just want you to know who we're up against, what their mentality is, their level of morality. They're willing to, they'll forgive boiling babies and eating them. They'll forgive murdering babies and children and burying them under their houses. They'll forgive all manner of atrocity. The same way they forgive, well, the Ukraine Nazis and Zelensky of all the atrocities, war atrocities they have committed over the last 10 years in Ukraine. They don't give a shit as long as they get what they want out of the deal. Let's go to the next topic before I get so outraged that I might start using bad words. We got David. He says, speaking of eating babies, I started down a disturbing rabbit hole that may be old news to you. Wondering what you've learned regarding Podesta, Anderson Cooper, and his mother's swimming pool. The Podesta family, especially I think John Podesta. There's John Podesta and Leon Podesta. The number 14, their blood rituals that they were committing, the fake cannibalistic, or was it real cannibalistic rituals that were going on with the witch. It was involving Washington politics, Hollywood media, the super rich. All of these people got caught, folks. It was being exposed. And it was a big deal. Remember, that was the Comet Ping Pong stuff. And there was a lot of videos out, and it was during the Trump administration, and people, folks, were outraged, right? And this is when Jeffrey Epstein got his tail in a crack. That was a big deal. His Little St. James Island, right? Pictures of that getting out. The Clintons were being named. Those names were being named. Well, Epstein's dead. Jizzy Maxwell's in prison. And nobody, right? She's in prison for trafficking children to nobody. because they haven't arrested anyone else for being the other side of this trafficking. I guess that it was like a used car lot full of cars and no customers ever came for them, but they were stolen cars. So they arrested Jizzy. So Jizzy is arrested for trafficking children for sex, but there were no customers, I guess. It's unbelievable. As far as Anderson Cooper and the rest of the scumbags in media, they know who they are. They know what they've done. We can guess who they are, right? When they're supposed to be bringing us the news, but instead they lie, mislead, hide, obfuscate, right? And otherwise just ignore the law, our Constitution, our history. In fact, they want to remake everything. They're going to rewrite history, folks, if they defeat us. They will make us the bad guys. That's why we don't have any choice. We're going down this road, down this rabbit hole, into this land of SHTF. And I'm not going to go down not fighting. That's why I came to the South, folks. I got DeSantis on one side and Abbott on the other, and we're going to go down fighting if it gets to that. But for now, we can fight. We can prep to action and send people to Washington, D.C. to keep fighting there. And we can keep fighting through social media to get all of the facts out, the truth, whether it's about the wars that are going on or the food problems or the medical nonsense and lies or the legal or the military. Whatever it is they're lying about, we can keep battling. And I'm going to keep doing it. I'm not giving up. Let's move on if we shall, though. Jolene, what do we have next? Who is next on the board? We got Dennis Chandler. And he says, I'm seeing reports that crickets, the shells on them is just like a shellfish. So if you cannot eat shellfish, stay away from the cricket-based food. Isn't that interesting? Cricket-based food. Pulverized crickets, ground up crickets. I've already covered the story that there are chemicals in bugs, chemical compounds that we can't digest, that they're toxic to us, right? Fish scales, right? I mean, they're going to try feeding us whatever they can. It doesn't matter to them whether it's toxic or not. They'll just say, oh, that's a rarity. I mean, I can't get peanuts if I were to fly in an airplane because, allergies. But they'll feed us bugs, whether we like it or not. I will be checking the ingredients on foodstuffs. Hell, if I get to go out to a restaurant, I'll probably ask him, are you putting bugs in my food? I don't want any crickets or cockroaches. I mean, it's just, I know everyone I know when they see a bug, right, in a civilized place, not out in the woods. Out in the woods, there's bugs out there. Out in the fields, out in the swamps, that's where bugs are. But you see a bug in your kitchen, like, bug, bam, smash it, right? Wash it down the sink, flush it down the toilet, whatever, throw it out the window. Bugs gross people out. And now they're saying, oh, wait, that's food. That was yummy. Yeah, I got a fresh one. I don't think so. Right? Why would we invite them? Why would we allow them to put it in our food? To me, the corporations that are pushing this bug nonsense, in order to make commercial quantities of food with bugs, there has to be a commercial quantity of bugs available to them. And they'll say, yeah, you want a truckload of dead bugs? We'll bring them. And then you can cook them and grind them up and put them in food. It's awful, folks. It's just awful. Let's move on if we shall. I know we're running out of time in this fun hour. Oh my God. Right. Tomorrow will be tomorrow. Are you saying that's the last one, Jolene? Tomorrow will be Friday, and it'll be the Friday free for all. Okay. Thank you, Jolene. It's incredible, folks, what they're doing this week. I want you to be prepared. Really, that's my job here, right? I'm in my bunker, or I'm in Studio B, or I'm somewhere out in the swamps, or somewhere training, somewhere shooting. We all need to be ready. Get a food supply stored up, preferably one with no bugs. Get prepared, folks. Okay, let's get to that last question there. I think it was Sally Sue, and she says, John, they won't be forcing people to own nothing, kill babies, eat bugs, etc. She says, just look at all the women they tricked into feminism. All they have to do is make them think they want it. Incredible. Yeah. Feminism. It's incredible. It attacks the masculine, calls it toxic masculinity. And then it tells women that you're just as good as men after telling women that men are idiots. But you're just as good as an idiot. Which is it? Talk about confusing young women, right? Hey, young lady, you're just as good as a boy. And look at that idiot boy over there. You're just as good as him, right? You should be like him. And they've moved on from that. It's incredible, Sally Sue. Yeah, they've tricked women into being feminists. They used the word feminine in there, but they've told them to not be feminine and act like men. Be your own boss, right? Stick up for yourself. Fight back. Be an aggressive, competitive jerk off like men, because men are jerks, but you want to be just like them. Feminism. Now they completely destroyed men. You toxic young boys out there. You should cut your penises off, right? You should get in touch with your feminine side. That's how they started. Stop being a jackass. Stop being a jerk. Stop being a guy. And stop being so masculine. Stop being so, crude. And get in touch with your feminine side, your feelings. Well, we all have feelings. We all have, emotions. But, you should get in touch with them more. And then, oh, my God, maybe you're gay. Maybe you're a trans. Yeah, look where we're at now. You don't think it has anything to do with what they're feeding us? The soy project is a 100% success. Substituting soy for meat products. Putting soy in everything. Right? Soy shakes, soy milk, soy this, soy that. Loaded with plant estrogen. I mean, literally, folks, they're testing men and their testosterone levels. And men in their late teens and early 20s have the testosterone level of men in their 70s. Now, it's not that men in their 70s, right, don't want to have that kind of low T, but that's just how physiology works. You should be loaded with testosterone in your teens, your 20s, your 30s. You should be, right? But they've discovered also that masculine testosterone-loaded men, they tend to be more independent, more feisty, less, shall we say, gullible. In other words, they question authority. They stand up to authority. They're more confrontational. Yes, toxically masculine, if you will. They don't want that kind of population. They don't want people like me out there saying, you know what, fuck you, I don't like you. They're like, well, but what I'm saying has merit. I don't care if it has merit. I don't like you as a person. Merrick Garland, you little feminized wimp, right? But they want feminine men. They want weak men. They want men subdued. They want a bunch of beta pussies out there because they tend to rely on others. They're weak, and so they look to government to solve their problems instead of saying, you know what, I'll fix it myself. I don't need your shit. They want people relying on government and looking to government. So they need to get rid of masculine, real men. And they don't want men and women to have good, healthy relationships. No, because, well, that's the nuclear family. That's the family that has a man and a woman and raises children, right? Tells them to grow up to be good people. No. They don't want strong families where the kids look to the parents as the authority figures. They want kids to see their parents as failures so that the kids turn to government authority, teachers, to tell them how to be. And what are teachers doing? Telling them, hey, you should hate yourself and hate your parents and hate your race and hate your culture, hate your country. Go ahead and cut off your genitals, right? You should be ashamed of yourself. Take a knee, bow down, kiss everyone else's ass, right? Why do you think the suicide rate is so high? Why do you think it is that human beings aged 40 and below, for some reason, a vast percentage of them, I don't know if it's a majority or not, can't handle stress. They get stressed out. They throw a fit. Oh my God, they get upset and everything, start crying. Unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable what's going on. I tell you, what to make of this, folks. Shit has hit the fan. Great questions, great comments, great topics. Unbelievable. Now, what's amazing, folks, is if you love America, you're hated. Right? Tulsi Gabbard, a Democrat. You'd think that she would be a perfect candidate, folks, because, well, she's a super liberal politician. She wants socialism for America, but, she's a socialist who likes America. But, she's a socialist nonetheless. And she's not the type of socialist, though, that the DC elites want. They have a very specific and narrow target they're going for. The DC socialists want to pretend like they're not in bed with big corporations while they dismantle our nation's laws and our sovereignty. But it's a strange world, folks. The threat of war, the threat of biological annihilation from inside of us. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. The globalist World Economic Forum socialists, folks, they're trying to take it all down. The Great Reset is happening. They want to feed you bugs. They want to poison you with drugs. They want to convince you you're wrong and you're bad, right? The only way out of this is freedom. The only way out of this is liberty. The only way out of this is our Constitution. The only way out of this is our Declaration of Independence. The only way out of this, folks, is our First Amendment. Free speech. Practice your beliefs, what you preach. The only way out of this is the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 10th Amendment. Right now, I keep getting this question. Well, what if you're being arrested, right? You're going to be arrested, but you haven't committed a crime. The bad guys are the ones who are coming to you and pretending to be the good guys. Well, that's what we're seeing, are we not? The bad guys in Washington are telling us they're the good guys and we must obey them. When we know they're the bad guys, why are we obeying the bad guys? Why are we listening to the bad guys? Why do we give a shit what the bad guys think? Why aren't we arresting them? They're the bad guys. Am I saying commit insurrection? No. Am I saying commit acts of violence? No. I'm asking a question. Why are they in charge when we know they're the bad guys? You see how far they pushed us? When you can say that and know it, when you can believe it, they're the bad guys, and we know it. We know that Hunter is a dirty bastard. We know Biden is the big guy who's getting his cut. We know Nancy Pelosi and her family are over in Europe and over in Asia, making business deals, enriching themselves. We know these corporations are trying to poison us and take our money for doing it. We know the food companies are being destroyed while the bug companies, well, they want to make poison for us. They want to take away our energy, our ability to travel, right? They want to tell us you don't get to have heat and warmth. You don't get to be free. It's obvious who the bad guys are. I guess it's going to have to get a lot worse, folks, before everyone stands up and says, no, we're done with this. How many people are going to keel over from heart attacks, blood clots, strokes, pulmonary issues, brain aneurysms, neurological conditions as they continue to fail and fall apart, right? We're 1 year into this Jim Jones juice, and it's not getting better, folks. It's continuing to be bad. Right? Pray for those who took that shit, who shouldn't have. But a bunch of people are jacking themselves up and their kids. Oh yeah. And by the way, while they know they can't mandate it, they're going to keep telling people take it. And they're lining up, folks, for this winter. They're lining them up. They got another Jim Jones juice concoction. And they will be saying, come and get it. Zombies? Oh yeah, I forgot about the zombies, huh? These people that are having their brains rotted away by injecting themselves with this crap. They'll be zombies, folks. They'll be slow. They'll be stupid. They'll be dangerous, right? Just like zombies in the movies. Barely alive. Barely capable of functioning. Scary stuff. Hey, folks, chance favors the prepared mind. Is yours. Sounds like a bunch of conspiracy. You don't have to listen to me. Just minimize this window. and go read the news. Everything I read to you and talk to you about is out there in the mainstream news. It's just not being splashed across TVs. But it's out there, folks. It's out there. Russia's claims, America's claims, it's out there. They're trying to hide stuff from you, but it's out there. CDC rules, it's on their website. It is. All of this is out there. What DeSantis is doing and saying, what Trump is doing and saying, right? Whether it's hypersonic missiles or football players dying, it's all out there. You don't have to look real hard. You just have to look. Chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Semper Fi, and God bless America.